Go, Dennis. Go, Dennis.
Happy birthday. Happy birthday.
Go, Dennis. Go, Dennis.
Happy birthday. Happy birthday.
Thanks, Rhonda. Yeah.
Rhonda, you can see what we were having such problems with.
No pride. I forgot the glasses.
Oh, how do you top that one?
I'm not sure you want to try.
Maybe we should say goodbye, and it was a good show.
Yeah. If we top it, Dennis is getting arrested.
We've definitely covered the subjects that confuse and stress out the plussers. Me acting like that. Okay.
Today, obviously, is Dennis Deuce's birthday. Happy birthday!
Thank you. Oh, you know, I think I need a cake. I'm going to give myself a cake.
Okay. Happy birthday. Happy birthday.
All right. So, yes, it is my birthday. I'm 46, which I've been for like 6 months. If you asked me my age for the last 6 months, I've been 46. It's a really neat trick. It makes it so it's not that big a deal when you get that age. Yeah. I turned 30 like 2 years before I turned 30, so it was no big deal. All right, so there's my little aging trick. So we're going to talk about some of the weird terms on Google+. And there's already been some chatter of this. I'm taking these biking gloves off. Yeah. So what are some of the terms that kind of hung you two up when you got on the Plus?
For me, the very first one was plus mention. I had no idea what anybody was talking about.
Plus mention.
Plus mention, yeah. And what was really frustrating to me was I searched and searched to find what it meant. And at the time, there was nothing even in Google search about plus mention. So if I couldn't find it on somebody's HOA talking about terms or somebody helping out the newbies, I didn't find it. And then literally it took me several months, maybe 3 months, to find out what plus mention was. Now you would think an intelligent, brilliant person would be able to figure it out. And I know I'm not stupid, but apparently I wasn't brilliant enough to figure it out because I just couldn't get it.
Well, I remember the week after you got it, I said plus tag in a green room with you. And you're like, no, what's that?
Well, yeah, I mean, again,
there can't be more than one way of saying something that took me 3 months to figure out. Yeah, ping, plus mention, mention, plus tag, at mention.
Okay, so let's start.
Ping was the one that got me. When
Ping?
I first started doing HOAs and people were like, okay, I'll ping you. I'm like, that sounds painful. What is that? and it was just, you know, they're going to send me a mention when it's, or send me a message when it's time to come into the green room, but I really didn't know what it was. That was it. So it got me very, very confused. I'm like, what's a ping? I thought it may be some sort of special function that was within an HOA or something. I really did not understand what ping meant.
Well, how did you find out the answer?
I finally figured it out when I think it was Chef Dennis. He sent me a message to invite me to the green room, but the message right before the invitation came said, ping! Literally, it wrote ping, and I'm about to send you the invitation to the green room. I was like, oh, that's what that is. Okay, now I got it.
Well, how brilliant that he put that on there.
Yeah, it just meant he's sending me a notice that he's about to send me an invite and to watch for it.
That's pretty cool of him to do that, actually.
Yeah, that's how I learned what ping was.
Dennis, how long did it take you to figure it out?
Well, you know, I've had a lot of friends that were network engineers, so I've known what it meant to ping a server since 1998. And so that particular one never gave me a struggle because it's just like, oh, okay, I'm going to ping a human instead of pinging a server. Okay, I get that. But I remember the first time Brian Jensen said to me, have you seen this HOA? And I'm like, what's that? He's like, Hangout on Air. I'm like, oh, I was thinking like homeowners association.
Yeah.
Yeah, that one had me completely confused. What's funny is watching these kind of come up, like hurl, as opposed to hurl. I mean, maybe I only became aware of it in the last 4 or 5 months, but I think that putting the H in front of IRL is a recently new thing.
Okay, for the benefit of those watching that do not know what it means, Dennis.
Hurl means to throw up.
Well, that's one definition.
But that's spelled wrong. The hurl we're talking about is HIRL, hangout in real life.
Yeah.
Why we can't say getting together, I'm not quite certain, but you know, we're on the plus, so.
Because it's funnier to say hurl. We're gonna go hurl.
Yes.
You know, so much of what we do on Google Plus, in my opinion, reminds me of going back to high school and being in a club. Because if you're not in the in club, you don't know what some of it means.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I mean, it can be pretty frustrating. What club do you go to find out the information?
Yes, there's a lot of terms that we start to take for granted fairly quickly.
Well, I think it was interesting just talking about this show. It made me remember very quickly how easy it was to forget what was frustrating me for so many months. Because once you know, it's like, oh yeah, that makes sense, and it goes out of your mind because it becomes part of your language. But when it's not part of your language, then it's like being in a foreign country. And that's one of the things I was talking to someone new back many months ago, and I said, you know, it's like Google drops you in this foreign land and says, ha ha ha, figure it out.
Yeah.
Oh, have y'all seen this question?
You know, that's funny. I just pinned the same comment.
Yeah, and this one does get confusing because you get invites and then you get invites, and it's like, yeah, I don't know. All right, Zara says, I have a Noogler term question. I have said yes to attending an HOA, but my calendar says I also have an invitation. Does this mean I'm invited to the green room panel? And the best thing, or the way that I would take that is, no, you are invited to watch the HOA. It's just they're double using the term. Google.
Well, so there's two ways of notifying people of an HOA. I'm going to screen share here because I think it's going to be easier to answer this if we screen share. Okay, so when you're inside an HOA, you can share the event. That's going to put it on your profile and, you know, tell the world that you think they should go to this. Then there's invite down here. Now, when you invite somebody, you are directly asking that person to come. You're also sending them they'll get a notification up here in their bell they'll get a email, and so you want to be careful using this. I have outbound circles that include the people who have engaged with the particular show that I'm wanting to invite them to. And so, and I'm very careful to never put in a major influencer into those circles without their permission, because they get so many notifications that, you know, the last thing I want to do is make them feel like I'm spamming them. Mm-hmm. So be aware, if you are going to invite somebody to an HOA that you're going to, that you are going to be sending 2 or 3 direct messages to them. So make certain that it's not spam.
I think that's a very confusing thing that you just brought up for newbies. Because Google says right there clearly, share and invite in big letters. And then we're saying be very careful on how you use it. Be very, very careful. And you're talking about your circles now in there too, and it's like, okay, what in the heck am I supposed to do then? Because if I had heard this when I was a newbie, Dennis, I would have been frantic never to ever send out an invite, and I would have been frustrated with Google for saying invite more. Why do I want to invite more if I'm spamming? Why are you encouraging me to spam, Google?
Oh, absolutely. And there's a lot of chatter around that very subject, that there are some issues with the way the platform is written that do lend itself to spamming by mistake. Yeah.
Okay, so then have we helped a newbie with our explanation of the invite, how to use that? I know that's not a term, and I know it may be a little bit off track, but we just opened up a can of worms for people, I think. Do we tell them then, how would you expressly tell someone, Dennis, to use the invite function if you're holding an HOA? Now, granted, most of the time it's not somebody who's just 30 days or 60 days into the platform that's doing an HOA, but not necessarily true, because there are a lot of people that are using HOAs in YouTube that are not in Google Plus, you know, engaging or anything, and then come over here and start engaging, and then, okay, now I'm going to start one, and they say invite, and I invite.
Well, and it's not just that. I mean, here, I'm going to screen share again, because I think I might have not been really clear here. I was showing an event that I happen to have created, but the confusion gets bigger. Let's go with, okay, so Christine and Mia, all right? Oh, actually, you know what? The question comes from Zara, so I'm going to promote her show in the process. Giving back, that's why my picture says hat tip. Okay, so I can actually invite people to her HOA,
mm-hmm.
Okay? And I can share it. Those are 2 different things. Share is going to end up in your stream. Invite is going to put it in a private. It's basically like sending a direct message. The difficulty is when you invite, you can't actually write anything. You can just say, oh, okay, these are the people I'm going to invite, right? And down the side here, you've got your circles when you go to invite, and you know you can click on that, and then it'll show all the people, so you can either select the entire circle or just people within the circle. But again, invite, you need to be careful with. Share, you don't. In my opinion, go crazy with share.
The beginning question was, are they invited into the panel on the HOA? And I think that's where we need to go back and say, no, you're invited to watch the show.
Correct.
So, and then with the circles, you, I find I have some circles. You can only invite so many people within a circle. If you try to invite the entire circle, there's so many people. It'll say, nope, you can't invite all those people at once. You have to pick individual ones and send it to them directly. So unfortunately, you can't just invite the whole circle, because with one of my shows, I've tried doing that. I've asked everybody, hey, do you want me to notify you each week when this show is coming up? And I can put you in a circle all by yourself, so I know the people that want to see it every week. But then I still have to go through and invite so many individually, and then I have to go through and invite some more, and then invite some more, because it won't let me just invite the whole circle at once because there's too many of them, which would be much, much easier. But, but that way I'm not just spamming people. I know I have these people within a circle that they've asked to be there, they want to be notified, and they're expecting that notification.
Yep. I'm not sure if we were clear.
Well, I think that Melanie Hall brings up a very good point here, and I'm just going to pin this. And she says, spamming conversation gets sticky. And it really does, because everybody talks about it, but nobody really truly defines what we're talking about in a way that makes any sense. Because I'm to the opinion that really people don't really know totally what it is. I mean, I've never heard anybody definitively say this is spamming. Never do this. Have you?
Well, I think I just did on invites.
Well, but maybe, okay, let's go back to, if I have my notifications set in such a way that I don't get any emails, I'm not going to get an email from you. I will just get a private notification in my bell.
Yes.
I don't think that that's necessarily spamming. I mean, I would not even address that as spamming. If somebody sends me a private message on their own, I'm not supposed to send a private message to somebody new or whomever. I mean, I don't think that's spamming unless you do it every 5 minutes, 10 minutes, whatever. That's harassing anyway. That's not spamming. So to me, sending an invite doesn't necessarily mean they're going to get an email if they have that set such that they're not. They're just going to get that private notification, correct?
Correct. Yeah, there are various ways of setting up your notifications so that you get different pieces of information from various people. I'm not even an expert on that. In fact, I've got one person that I love to follow, and they're gonna remain unnamed, but for some reason I can't figure out why I get every happy birthday notification this person puts out. And they follow a lot of people, and they are very good about happy birthdays, so I see about 20 happy birthday notifications on average a day. And I can't figure out how to turn it off. But I understand that you can. I think Ammon is dead on right there.
I do too.
You want to read that?
Everyone has their own definition of spam because it is based on personal tolerance. Wow, I mean, I think that's a great way to put it. And so, again, I guess you have to play out and determine, are there some people that are frustrated with what you're doing, depending on it, and if they are, then take them out of a circle. Be tolerant of what they want and just replace it and not worry about it. I think we're getting too hung up sometimes on what we're doing. I mean, certainly there's some people that, they do spam and deliberately, but the majority of people that are on social media, and especially here on Google+, they're not out to be hurting people.
No. And I think most people are very respectful of that. Mark Traphagen comes to mind. I mean, Mark is absolutely a gentleman about, when he feels like he's getting spammed, he will, say something to the person privately, And most of the time, those people end up turning that into a public. I've seen 4 or 5 conversations that started out private that the person who was mentioned made it public and said, "Thank you, Mark, you saved my life." And so I think, that we're all trying, and I think most of us are understanding of that. But at the same time, I try to be my own filter as well. I try to think, well, what would I think when, if I were to get invited by 7 people to this particular show?
I would think it must be pretty good to have 7 people invite me to it, and I might ought to watch it. They're trying to tell me something. You need to see this.
I love the way you turned that around. I think that's brilliant.
If 7 different people are saying, "Hey, reminding you to this," that's probably a hint for something,
And Cheryl brings up a point here too. I think you also need to not be afraid to ask someone to back off, or vice versa. Don't take offense when someone asks you to back off. It's true. It's just conversation.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. if we're being real and authentic, I mean, if you're in real life and somebody's saying, let's say somebody joins an MLM. That's just a perfect example of how many people are involved in them, right? And they're a close friend, and they're coming to you. I have no problem with saying either I do, I'm not interested, or I'm never going to join one, whatever. Is my friend going to be offended?
Yeah.
And the answer is, if they're offended, then how good of friends are we?
Mm-hmm.
And it's the same thing here. If I'm getting too much, I should have the freedom to say, "Hey, I appreciate what you're doing, but could you please take me off that list, because this is something I'm never going to do."
Mm-hmm.
And on my end, I would be, more than happy, or would prefer somebody do that. So, "Hey, I don't want to see this. I hope you do great with it, but it's not my thing. Would you take me out of this list?" Yeah, I would much rather do that than come to find out, they quit talking to me and everything, and find out that they think that I was spamming them. No, you just wound up in the wrong circle. I'm so sorry. Didn't mean to. Please tell me that I goofed.
And Kristen Drysdale, she's adorable, saving lives by knocking out one spammer at a time. Okay. Well, I think that is a term that we didn't put on our list, was spammer.
Yeah.
But obviously it's a confusing term. So look at us.
We're all like, are we spamming or not?
Yeah, what are we doing on this HOA that could be considered spamming?
Nothing that I'm aware of. Anybody in the comment stream, are we spamming you? If not, please, or if we are, please tell us, because I don't want to do that.
I think my dance at the beginning might be construed as spam.
Really?
I think it may be construed as bad. Sorry.
Oh, boy.
Verbal spanking.
Yeah, that's like number 16. Boy, they were just going after me in the green room. So, actually, okay. There was a good comment a bit ago. Someone was asking, and I didn't...
Here's one I saw earlier that I wanted to address before I lost my connection.
Boom! That's the one.
Wow, we're like really in sync today.
We are. Is it your birthday?
No.
Now there's a term that really confuses people. We're in sync. S-I-N-K.
That's why in sync. Synchronization.
Go to Kevin quick.
Okay, Kevin Burns. What is the difference between the green room pre and post show, and what are we seeing now?
A mess.
Well, this is a show that Dennis produces, so it was off the rails in the green room and remains off the rails right now. This is the live HOA. That's what you're seeing right now. I've heard people call the part before the green room and the part after the red room, they're both the green room to me, but before the show, most of that time is spent in making certain things are set up right. If everything is set up right, then they're very pleasant and pleasurable, but as the producer, most of the time they're pleasant and pleasurable for everyone but me. And then, you go live, and this is the broadcast, and then you go back into the green room, and usually, that's just a time to digest what you've just talked about, maybe make some plans for next week's show, thank your guest if you had one.
Okay, Dennis, let's get even a little more basic than that. Frank, I'm not sure if you've done an HOA yet. A green room looks exactly like this. All the hosts and the guests that are going to be on the show come together in a room like this, and we're talking just like this now. We just haven't hit the start broadcast button. We
Thank
check all
you.
our
Good
equipment.
point.
We make sure we can hear everybody. We chit chat. Dennis dances, and and then after the show is over, we hit end broadcast. Now, me and Dennis and Sandra will still be in the room. It just won't be going across live, but we're able to openly talk with one another. You guys just don't see it, and we talk about how the show went, and go over any questions, talk about what we might be coming up in the show next week. It's like a verbal chat room for us off the air. That's what a green room is.
It's like being in a private chat, that you do a private video chat before we are live and after. It's just that segment where we're live is live. If Dennis never hit the live button, we would be continuously doing a private video chat.
Yes. In fact, Ammon brings up a good point here. Green room comes from the old show business term for the TV industry. There's backstage at either a play or something like that, there is a green room. It's an area, and it's not green in color. It's an area where, the drinks are, and, where people can sit around. It's the casual place where you kind of digest things. That's why it got adopted here. Beyond that, green room actually comes from the time of Shakespeare, because the area was not inside the building; it was a walled garden next to the playhouse, so it was literally green in the beginning, but not so much now. In fact, ours is green because our lower thirds all have green in them.
Well, I'm questioning, and I like what he just brought up in his comment, that it's a hospitality room, because I have never been offered any drinks or food, Dennis.
Here's some water for you.
Hey, he brought cake today.
Did he? That's right. I forgot.
Yes. I brought my birthday cake. One candle on it.
Okay, now we've discussed the term HOA. What about HO? Because that was in the comments straight before the show ever even started.
Okay. Hangouts on Air, HOA, for those watching. Hangout on Air Live. It's a live broadcast. HO, go for it, guys, because there was much said about that.
Okay, you are not calling somebody a dirty word. We'll just get that straight out. HO stands for Hangout, and it is a video chat between two or more people that is not live. It's not on the air. You're just, instead of calling each other on the phone, you're in a video chat talking privately.
And how do they get there?
They would go over to the right of their stream where it says Hangout. Dennis, this is a great time for a screen share here, brother.
My screen sharing.
Your Hangout
How to start a
section.
Hangout.
Mm-hmm. Just a private video chat.
Yeah.
Okay. So you're logged in as yourself. Go to Hangouts right here. And well, there's actually, so when you're logged in as yourself, there's two ways to do it. You can go to Hangouts and go to Video Hangouts right here. And this is going to show you any Hangouts that you may have been invited to that are currently going on. Or you can start one. The other thing that you can do is through your Hangouts on the side, which are, doesn't matter where you are, these Hangouts are either hidden or visible. They're a standalone issue within the Google+. You can go, hey, you know, oh yeah, I need to hang out with, you know, Marianne. Okay, we got to plan this thing. So you bring her up and you can video call from right here. So you can either have the chat conversation or you can video call her. Now, if I hit video call right now, then it's going to kick me out of this, so I'm not going to do that. But that's how you start one, and then how you get in is you're going to get a ringing notification, you're going to get an email saying it's there, you're going to get a notification on your bell. Which notifications you get is dependent on how you have your notifications set up. One thing I highly recommend is that you actually install the Chrome Hangout extension because it simplifies the process of getting notifications, especially if you're a guest on a lot of HOAs, because Google's always like playing games with stuff, and this is a third-party app, so you always get notified the same way, and that makes it a lot easier for getting into them when you're not the one inviting, but the one being invited. Now that I've talked over everybody's heads, do the two of you want to simplify again? Because that seems to be the course today.
Well, I would go back to your screen share, Dennis.
You got it.
And go over to where you have the little Hangout icon on the top. Point that out.
Right here?
Yes, that's where you would click to open up your Hangout tools, which are down there. The pictures, the avatars that you're showing are because these are people that you have currently had Hangouts with or conversations. If you have done none, you won't see anything there.
Correct. It'll be totally blank. And all you do is type in, you know, anyone. And there's a green dot right here. You know what? I'm not screen sharing. There, I'm blue box now. Okay, there's a green dot by anyone who is currently available.
Right. And then go all the way to see at the bottom, click down there where it says Start a Video Hangout.
Mm-hmm.
That's a place that everybody usually picks up on first before what you and I have just been talking about. When they're new, they see that first. For some reason, which I found interesting, and that really is a very easy way to start one.
This is slightly different, though, than what I was doing, actually.
Well, I understand it's different, but I'm saying that's where a lot of newbies will go.
Mm-hmm.
Because it says Start a Video Hangout.
Yeah, and this is going to do something different. So if you do it this way, you're going to be inviting a particular person or a group of people to a Hangout. Now, if you start a video Hangout here, then this is going to come up, and it's going to give you a window asking you if you want to... First, it's going to ask you if you want to end the other call. If I were to end, no, I don't. But if I were to end the other call right now, the next thing it's going to do is ask me who I want to invite. So this one, you're starting the Hangout and then you're inviting people in. If you do it from here, you're figuring out who you want to invite and then you're starting the Hangout.
Okay, when you say starting from here, please explain for the newbies where you mean starting from here.
Starting from the Hangout sidebar, I guess is what you'd call it, the Hangout sidebar.
Tools, Hangout tools.
Yeah, is that what it is?
Yeah, it's called the tools there, Hangout tools.
And, you know, you type in the name of whoever it is that you want to hang out with, you know, and you're going to start your Hangout from that little arrow. Now, if you want to add more people to it, you can do that by continuing to add people into this, okay? So I now want to add, you know, I don't know who most of these people are. Holy cow. Oh, okay. All right, there you go. We're going to add Alex.
Who are these people?
Now this is a chat between Cheryl, Alex, and myself, and then you can actually name. So if it's going to be something that you use all the time, you can start getting into other functions with that and helping to organize your chats. Am I getting too deep again?
You are, yeah, because that's a whole tutorial in itself, I think.
Go, Dennis.
I think
It's your birthday.
I think the one thing that you pointed out, Dennis, there basically are 3 ways that somebody can start a video chat.
Yes.
And I think that the one on the left was on your menu, your Google Plus menu where it said Hangouts. Then the other 2 were on the right side under the Hangout icon where you could either type in a name or go to the bottom and start a video Hangout in the little green box. Correct?
Yeah, all right. So, I got to do something here just because somebody in the audience is trying to get on screen. Kristen. She typed in while I was showing Hangouts. She says, "Here, let me. I'm going to make it big enough you guys can actually read it because this is Kristen. You're a freaking riot."
My comment tracker is crazy today.
It says, "Hey Dennis, just trying to get on the screen share. Wink. Haha, it worked."
I love Kristen.
One way or another, Kristen, you're going to get in the HOA, right?
We have to bring up what Kevin said. We're not in the middle of a topic right now, so we can do this. He says, Delilah Taylor, you're already circled in following. I'm super advanced, yes?
Yes!
Rosie, to you also, more is better.
Oh, thank you, Kevin. I hope we were able to answer some of your question or at least confuse you a whole lot more.
No, I think what we did is I confused Kevin, and you guys clarified. That's pretty much the plan today.
Well, it is so easy when you're working and trying to help somebody learn something new to go beyond what it is that the question really is. I mean, I've learned that myself because you want to give them everything at once so that they know it. And they're back on the simplistic, very simple thing that they asked because they can't go beyond until they understand that.
Yeah. Yeah, so, getting down to the basic part is where we need to start.
Yeah, exactly. And when we talk about get going on Google Plus, it really is, I can't get you going until you get this. You have to have this part of the step before you can go to the next part, etc. So, Dennis, what you were trying to show them is excellent. It's just that it's a whole bunch of steps.
Yeah. Teach them one way, let them get that down, and then go.
It's baby stepping.
Second way. Yeah. Absolutely.
Like, what about Bob? Baby steps.
Yeah. I love that movie.
I do too. Baby stepping up and down.
I'm going to go look at the stream real quick because my comment tracker is awful. All right. What other terms do you guys want to know about? Or what else is getting to you? Or what did you have trouble with?
Well, Melanie Hall, back in the very beginning of this being posted, said the lower third really got to her when people were talking about lower third. And then after she kind of knew what it was, she thought it should be called bottom annotation, which that would confuse me too. So either way, it goes back to, but what is a lower third?
Bottom annotation. Bottom annotation just makes me think of minor crack.
Melanie, forgive him.
How about we just call it a name tag?
I like overlay.
Yeah, but you can do overlays on all sorts of pictures. There's too many possibilities with that.
I think we have to define what lower third is. What are they referring to when people talk to a lower third? And if you look, I don't know who you have on screen right now.
You're up, Sandra.
If you look at underneath my face and my upper body, you will see who I am, Sandra Watson, and get going on Google Plus. That is considered a lower third. because that's where you're going to put in a description, whatever you want to call it. But that is what people refer to when they refer to your lower third. That's where you put the description of who you are, your name, etc. There's ways that we can go into how you get that, but that's not what we're talking about. We're just talking about the definition. From the definition of the lower third, then comes the word overlay. Now let's discuss overlay.
I think that's just what Dennis Deuce calls it. Or is it,
Well, you know,
it is an overlay. It really is, but you can do overlays on all sorts of pictures. So
well, there's a reason why I call them overlays, at least when I'm like organizing them, because not all of mine run across here. I have some that run up the side, depending on what show I'm trying to brand. And so they aren't always lower thirds. Sometimes they're, you know, left fifths, or you know, so call them overlays.
Well, you know,
okay, that makes sense.
Let's just make it even simpler for people. An overlay can be the whole screen, because that is basically what the lower third is made from. It's made out of the lower third is part of an overlay. In other words, somebody has taken a picture of that whole screen that you are seeing right now as a viewer, and that is called an overlay. From that overlay, we chose to make everything transparent except this lower third that you're seeing. What Dennis is saying is that if we choose to make the whole thing a non-transparent and show an image, then you would not even see us or our lower third. You would see another image that would take up the whole screen that you're looking at. So as a graphic person, that's how that has a meaning. If you don't understand graphics, a custom overlay, as you see it, or an overlay, isn't going to mean a lot to you, and you're probably going to throw that term out of your mind, because that's really what you use when you're trying to make the lower third. In an HOA, in a Hangout on Air, or a private video, Google, or excuse me, I shouldn't even call it Google, but certainly in the toolbox, they have made it possible for you to have a default a default lower third. So you don't even have to think about anything. You can just make it. The ones that we have are custom that Dennis has made, and they were made from the overall overlay. So if you take that picture of who you're seeing right now, that whole big picture, that is an overlay if we put something in there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
And if you're not a graphic person, it's very confusing.
It is. But I gotta say, man, when I get these, I started this, everybody having the same overlay like 2 weeks ago on all my shows. It looks so freaking cool.
It does. I love it.
I mean, you know, especially
now that you spelled my name right.
Yeah. I made Delilah's 4 times this morning. Did you know there's 4 ways you can spell Delilah? Delilah didn't until
No,
I failed 3
I was so
times.
confused.
Okay, Delilah, which spelling are we going with today?
Yeah. Who am I today?
Melanie brought up, Dennis, she said, I like, Melanie Hall, I like the term name tag, Dennis. I busted out laughing when you said what bottom annotations means to you. Name tag. I mean, that's really true. It's your name tag. Thanks, Melanie. That's pretty simple. And then Em and John's, when we're talking about the overlay, a custom overlay, it could be a border all the way around. I mean, Dennis could have made the white, light green, and dark green as a border to go all the way around the picture that you're seeing, and just have us showing on the inside of the border.
Yep.
And that's another way that you could use it. There's all different kinds of ways you can do that. And then Andrew says, great video explaining the differences between a Hangout and a Hangout on Air. Blah, 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 Hangouts on Air. What's the difference? So I don't know what video you're talking about, though. He gives a link, excuse me. So maybe that's one that if people needed help on that, they can click on it. Thanks, guys, for all the help in the audience. You're doing a great job, because it really helps everybody when they get input from, you know, different sources, because the way I talk, the way Delilah talks, and the way Dennis talks relates to the way people listen. I mean, people may relate to me and not to Dennis, and vice versa. A lot of people may relate to him a lot better than the way I talk and the way Delilah. So it's really great when other people chime in and try to help each other.
Now, unfortunately, all these terms and everything are ones that have mostly been made up by people who use the Hangouts or Hangouts on our Air or Google, because Google never gave us a manual. So so we can pretty much term it what we want. These are just the most common terms, and it's ones that we've just come up with. The one that got me was film strip guest and non-film strip guest. I'm like, that's a whole lot of mouthful for a Southern girl that talks slow. It's just like, can't we just call them panel people and viewers? Shorten that down a whole lot. So.
But when I first came in, they weren't even distinguishing between panel viewers and guest viewers, and none of that. It was all guest or guest. And I thought, who's the guest?
Yeah.
I don't get that. And that was another one, months.
Yeah. Film strip is kind of roughly, what, Sandra, January, February of this year?
Yeah.
Approximately, film strip came out.
I'm still a newbie, y'all. So I didn't hear the ones before that.
Well, everyone was a guest, and it was like, well, so am I on the show, or what am I?
You're invited as a guest, but which kind of guest and how you're invited, we don't know.
Yeah.
I know. I always call them our live audience now. I mean, it's like, it makes sense to me. If you're not in the thumbnail below the big picture on the screen, then you're not a panel member. You're not a guest to the HOA. And it's very confusing because people just, when you're new, it doesn't make sense.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, here's another.
Another term I think that people really have a problem with is when they get an invite to an HOA or they see an HOA and they click yes. What does that mean? It's yes.
I'm going, but I don't know.
Yeah, yes, maybe, no. What have I said? What does this mean? What am I agreeing to?
Well, basically, let me try and explain that. So if you say yes to an HOA and you don't show up, Google is going to send people out to track you down.
No, it's drones now. Yeah.
They've got these cars that self-drive.
I saw that this morning at 25 miles an hour. They're coming to your house.
But they're gonna self-drive to your house and bomb your internet from outside. An EMP blast. Actually, nothing happens at all. I say yes to pretty much every single HOA that I get invited to.
And how many do you go to?
I went to the Scott and Jess show last night, and
you don't have to tell everybody all of them.
No, seriously, in the last 3 weeks, I've watched 1.5 shows.
Okay, because I think that's important, again, for newbies to understand. That you can say yes and you're still alive.
Yeah. And the great part is if you say yes and you don't go, but then it was something that you really wanted to watch, it's still there so you can hit the replay.
Okay, but how do you get to the replay?
Oh, are we screen sharing?
In your event stream.
I would definitely screen share that.
Because there's a lot of them that I want to watch, but I'm not able to go at the time that it's on. But it like DVRs it for me, so I still get to watch it later and make comments and
Okay, so you can get to this from a couple of ways. You've got, of course, on the left-hand side, you've got this drop-down bar, control bar, and you can go to events right there. And this is going to show you all of the events that you've said yes you're going to, or that you've been invited to.
Or you said maybe.
Or you said maybe. And it's going to tell you whether you said yes or maybe right here, and then if you were invited but you haven't answered yet, it's going to have those blue boxes like that. Okay? So, yes, I just said I'm going to the last. Isn't this sad? I'm sorry, I just got to say, this is like the end of Google Plus history right here. Like, what are we going to do without Christine and Mia? I don't know.
Now we have food and booze, so it's okay.
And we got bandwidth. I got the bandwidth show with Christine.
Bandwidth.
So, we're okay. So, you're going to see all of the shows that are coming up, and these shows come from most recent. So the show that's currently happening is right here. And they get further into the future as you move down. And then, at a point, you're going to see this, past events. And those are the shows that have happened from closest to current time going back in history. Okay? And so if you've said yes, it's nice because it catalogs all of the shows that you've seen. And one of the things that I do is if I really want to go back and see a show, I will not say, did you watch? Because then when I'm scrolling through really quickly, I can see, oh, wait, I still want to go see that show like I saw, again, in the audience. Here's Midweek Zap, HOA Ready, I want to go back and see this show, so I have not clicked it as yes yet. And if, that's just how I organize, not that you have to organize like me, and you'll probably get totally lost if you organize like me, so don't organize like me.
Okay, you got a verbal spanking coming here. Sorry. Ammon Johns. Dennis Deuce says yes to everything. 8 children are the evidence. Ammon, that's awesome.
Okay. Wow.
Here's one, Dennis. You can read this one. Delilah's crying.
Kevin Burns, what about tagging the host, co-host, guest in the lower third to clarify who's who and roles? Actually, Kevin, I saw that one, and I like that idea, especially since I'm making these custom lower thirds for everybody. I think that's a really great idea. I just might start doing that. One of the things that I have been doing is if a company has particular branding colors and they're a guest, like last week I had Alexandra on a show from SEO Wise, and their colors are blue, but it was on a show that's all grays and reds. So I left this layout all the same, but I used her colors, which kind of does the same thing, but not as straightforward and obvious, throwing in the word guest, co-host, host. I like that.
What would you do about people that are very particular about having their own branding on their lower third during the show?
If somebody wants to do that, I'm fine with it. I just explain to them that, we're trying to make the show look as clean as possible. That I know of, I'm the only one that's doing this. Everybody has the same lower third. And people say, hey, I want to put up my lower third. Great. You want to put up your lower third? I'm totally okay with it. I created this for you, whatever. But most people have said, I'm okay with that. I even had a graphic designer in Get Busy yesterday say, okay. He had created a custom lower third that was like his style. And he's like, oh, this is good. You covered the key points. I don't know.
I thought it was a good question because it is confusing again for people. I don't always when I'm watching Hangout on air, I don't always remember people's names very well, and it's like, okay, what part are they playing in this Hangout on air? And then I have to go sometimes up above to read again or to details to see what it is I need to find out. So I think it's a good discussion for sure. What do we do with that, and how do we handle it? I think Kevin brought up a great point.
Yeah.
But also, if you have multiple people on a show like this one, I mean, there's 3 of us, but then we also have panel guests that come on to distinguish who's on the show regularly and who's on as a special guest for that week or for that episode. So yeah, I think it's a great idea.
Yeah, I like it.
I like it a lot.
A lot.
The other thing that Zara put in a comment, Zara Tar, she said she gets to replay from her calendar, and that's another place that people can go to find Hangout on air that they want to see that they didn't get to see live, or maybe they want to watch it again. It's a good thing. You know, that just brought up another thing, though. We call them Hangouts on air, but yet they're also called events. That was another thing for me. What's an event versus a Hangout on air?
Well, there's two kinds of events. How deep do you want me to go here?
Well, why don't we say what are the differences between the two? How do they compare to a Hangout? Why do we call a Hangout on air an event?
Okay, that's actually fairly easy.
Okay.
Google Plus had events in place before it came up with the concept of Hangouts on air. So originally, you just set up an event to tell people that the Hangout on air was going to be on, and then you like started the Hangout on air right as you were going to start the show. There was no preset YouTube video or anything. So they just used the tool they had available. And that's why Hangouts on air continue to run inside of events. Now there are some other reasons for that. Google has set up events to have really searchable content, and so that's another reason. But that's why Hangouts on air run inside of an event, is because that was the calendaring tool that Google already had in place. In fact, Google had the events in place. The first time I ever used an event was out of Gmail in about 2007, which is long before Google Plus even came around. So this is a tool they've had, and they just adopted it.
So
was that a simple enough answer?
Yeah, and what I would add to that, and you tell me if I'm wrong, Delilah and Dennis, is that an event is a type of Hangout on air because of the way that it is announced and everything. You can do a Hangout on air from YouTube and not have an event.
That is true.
That is true. Or you can build an event and never link it to a Hangout on air. So if you just want to start like some open public chat stream, just a comment stream, you could actually do that with if you're building an event.
If you're going to have a live event at your brick and mortar store, you can actually tag the map in the event in a standard event, not a Hangout on air event, because those are designed to just be online. But yeah, there's a whole mapping feature. You can actually, I mean, yeah, you can. You could
so
build just to get pretty deep here.
We need to have a show on the difference between events and Hangouts on air.
Yeah.
Because the terms are interchangeably used in Google Plus, and they shouldn't be.
Yeah.
Correct. Yes.
Okay. I think that helps newbies for sure.
Okay. I think that could be a good show.
Yeah, because it is confusing to people.
Yeah. Now, when you build your Hangout on air, it automatically gives you an event page. But if you just want to do something, make some sort of announcement or whatever, you can just build an event page and not even include the Hangout on air part. So,
correct.
You know, yeah, we could go on there and build an event to send Dennis happy birthday messages all day long if we felt like it.
Well, and that would be something when we do have the show to create an event so that we have that as an example.
Yeah. And Dennis can get happy birthday messages all day long when it's not his birthday.
Yeah, exactly.
That would be great.
Post happy birthday. It's not your birthday, Dennis Deuce. That would be the title of it.
Not your birthday, but hey, maybe I'll still do the birthday dance.
There you go. Happy birthday.
Don't see too many of those bars. We'll get shut down. Sony owns that.
Yeah. No.
I didn't. I'm fine.
I know. I'm just talking about how funny it is.
Hey, Dennis, we'll just call it getting your pit on. If y'all didn't see the picture, it's Brad Pitt dancing.
And then the next time we have to talk about the difference between ping and pimp.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And outbound circles and inbound circles.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yes, because circles stink.
Cheryl Deuce wants her own event, so there you go. What a way to get to the end of the show, right?
There you go. I think we are at the end of the show.
I think we need to ask Eamon Johns to come on when we talk about some of these things.
Please clarify. Help us clarify.
Yes, I think Ammon will be talking about that on Monday, my friend. Okay, well, I am going to close out the show. I do want to point out, but actually, before I pimp anything,
oh dear.
Delilah, what do you want to pimp?
What do I want to pimp? I want to pimp my new shopping show on Saturday at 1 o'clock. Shop Small Biz Live, Saturdays, 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Come see me. Come get some great stuff. Bringing over a lot of newbies. Get to see people that are starting out. So it's a great time.
And buy some cool stuff.
And buy some cool stuff.
Delilah's Home Shopping Network.
Don't think I can use that name. I'm sure that's copyrighted, so.
Probably.
I'm sure you'll come up with a great hashtag.
Yes. Delilah's pimping.
Delilah pimps your products.
Oh, gosh.
Okay, Sandra, what do you want to pimp?
Absolutely nothing. Every other week we have Rock on the Blocks with the ABCs of Google+. We just had one yesterday, so it'll be 2 weeks from yesterday. Sure. And right now, it looks like it's a possibility we'll be having a guest that's going to talk about how to become an internet seller. How to sell your wares on the internet.
Ah, that'd be a good show.
And if it's not that, then it will be a videographer or a copywriter. So we have 3 options that are coming up right now.
Cool.
Yeah, it'll be fun. It's what to do with the tools of the ABCs of Google Plus once you know them. How do you make your business run? Yep.
It's the show that takes you a step beyond this show.
Yeah.
That would be in the water. You fall in the bowl.
Oh,
off the plank.
All right, and I want to pimp tonight's show, A Lily Gray. These guys are an amazing Utah band. Here in Utah, they've got quite a following, actually. We're really very honored to have them opening season 2. I don't have any A Lily Gray music yet that I can play, so but if you go to the event, there's some links in there to some of A Lily Gray's music, so you can see what kind of style they have. But I am going to close down the show with 5 State Killing Spree from last season, and I think we're ready to close down. Thank you so much. We'll see you guys all next week.